Hi there, this is Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International. My name is Ian Willoughby. In this episode, my guest is Derek Cummins. Derek is the co-founder of PetExpert, a pet insurance company that's helped foster major growth in that field in this country in recent years. And when I spoke to the Irish-born businessman, the conversation took in everything from pet owners' biggest fears to how, in the dog-mad Czechia, the status of canines has been actually changing in recent years, as you will hear now in this episode of Prague Talk with Derek Cummins. What first led you to this country?
So, I came here originally back in the year 2000. I was working in London and I had a boss there who was from the United States. And one day he announces, I'm going off to Czech Republic to run this organization. And we all said goodbye to him and everything. And then he called me and he said, hey, look, I've got here and I need you here, because we work very well together. How about coming to the Czech Republic? And I'll be honest, I was like, yeah, I know where it is. I know about Czechoslovakia and everything. I said, but all I've ever known about that in recent time was people going there for weekends and stuff. So she said, sure. He said, come along. And it was winter. It was October, November time. And it was cold, back in those days. There was snow. And he took me there. He took me around, showed me the sights and everything. And I just fell in love with the place. I was like, this is fantastic. And for me at that stage of my life, it was a good time for me to explore. Of course, to my friends and family, they were like, I remember getting asked a question like, oh, you live in Czech Republic? Well, first of all, still being called Czechoslovakia, although it wasn't. And they was like, oh, and they'd go, why? And it was almost like if it was a sort of sentence, oh, you've been sent there. And I said, well, why not? And I would reel off all the great things about the country, and what great opportunity it has. And I think, that's come true.
In 2017, you co-founded the company PetExpert, which is a pet insurance company. What led you to make that move?
For a number of years, I worked for sort of corporate organizations across Europe and in North America. And then during that period of time, I realized that in Czech Republic itself, there was a lot of dogs everywhere. Dogs everywhere.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah, everywhere. People love dogs there everywhere. And I thought to myself, okay, I wanted to change from what I was doing because I'd been working in a corporate environment, very successful. I'd gone through several M&As, some exits and so on. And then I thought, well, I'm going to do something for myself. Yeah. And my passion was always about dogs. I've always had a dog, come from an Irish family. I've had a dog since I was born. Our first dog was small. There's always pictures of me as a child with the family dog. And when I lived in England, I had a dog as well. And then when I came here, I was living in an apartment. It was hard, but I really missed dogs. But I loved other people's dogs, so I was constantly looking after other people's dogs. So I thought to myself, no, I want to do something around pets. Yeah, and I had experience in insurance technologies, and I thought to myself, well, how can I use that knowledge that I have and create something around pet insurance? Because pet insurance has been running for 35, 40 years in the UK. It is here, and it'd been running for about 10 years, but not very well. So it wasn't so simple as to say, okay, let's just do a pet insurance product, but we had to be different, yeah, and we had to do it right and do it better.
And in what way were you different from your competitors?
So basically what we did is that we did a lot of research at the beginning, and we understood what the problems were. And the problems were that in a typical normal insurance, any insurance that most people have, is when unfortunate a claim happens, you have to pay to remedy it, fill out a claim form, send it to the insurance company. The insurance company reviews that claim and then may or may not pay back depending on if it matches the terms and conditions. But we said no, but when your dog is sick or your cat is sick, they're a member of your family. So you're under a lot of stress because you're concerned. And it can be quite catastrophic, even though it could be a small thing. So we had to take away the stress of that. So we created a technology where the pet owner could go to the vet, have the treatment, and that we would settle the bill directly to the vet.
So there's kind of no risk then for the owner?
No. and they're not out of pocket. They don't have to wait a long period of time to get their money back. All they pay is the excess, or the spolučast in Czech. And we did that all through tech, through the mobile phone, through, no paper at all, nothing at all, and just made it simple, easy, and stress-free. Because at that time, when the last thing you're thinking about is the bill. So we just eliminated that problem. At the same time, we made it easier for the vets, because the vets in the past had to fill out forms and everything like that. So what we also did is we brought the vets into the partnership, built a partnership with the vets, and basically made them part of the whole process. And that, I have to say, successfully worked.
It seems to me that Czechs have an extremely sentimental attitude to their pets. For example, like I'm from Ireland, like yourself, a lot of people are not that many generations away from farms. Dogs, they would have a name, but they maybe didn't sleep inside. They were seen as kind of working dogs. Here, maybe they didn't have that. I guess that benefits you, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what we've seen, there has been a change in attitude. So initially, what we've seen is outside of the cities, people did have dogs. The dogs tended to be outside because it's more of a village environment. And they lived in the kennel or chained up, God forbid, but horrible. But that could be the case. And they were normally mixed breed. If the dog passed away or was sick, they wouldn't treat the dog because they had no emotional attachment to it, and they would get a new dog from the neighbour for nothing. That, I have to say, has changed quite dramatically, and even more so after COVID. So after COVID, more and more, the dog became a member of the family, came inside, and I would say that's demonstrated by the clients that we have across the whole of Czech Republic. It's not concentrated in the cities. So yeah, the Czechs really do love their pets. It's demonstrated by the way or how much they spend on their pets themselves. And they have really been brought into the family group. I would say even more so than some other countries. And you would quite logically insure your family. Yeah? So why not insure your pet?
Is it the case also that you don't only do health insurance for pets, but also insurance, for example, if you lose your dog or cat?
Yeah, that's right. We have what we've done, and we've changed things around recently, because what we've allowed to give people a bit more flexibility so they can tailor-make, because not one size fits all. So to tailor-make their insurance a bit better, so they can add modules to it. So there are modules, things like if you lose your dog, we would pay for reward or find, or pay for the advertising and so on. There's also, holistic treatments as an add-on, because obviously holistic medicine some people prefer. Even the one where, and this is quite common, if you go into hospital, you've got no one to look after your dog, so to pay for boarding fees or to pay for fees to look after your dog while you're sick. So again, with taking the problem away, so you don't have to worry. It's a member of your family.
From your research, what are the things that dog owners, for instance, most fear? Is it that the dog will get cancer? Then you're faced with expensive testing and then treatment?
One of the biggest fears, and I can even say this as myself, because it's actually happened to me, is losing your dog. And if you lose your dog, not finding your dog. Happened to me a few summers ago when my dog was at a grooming station. He's a mixed breed, small dog, 5 kilos, decided he's going to make a run for it, and it was lost for a week in Stodolki. So That was a long week? Yeah, it was an incredibly long week, almost giving up hope until we got a phone call and somebody had spotted him somewhere, and I went and got him, and he came running straight to me. It was like out of a movie, honestly. So the fear of losing their dog, but the fear of serious illness, a lot of it depends on the breeds as well, because some breeds are more susceptible to certain illnesses. I always see owners of certain breeds, if they have a certain dog, I always highly recommend they would have insurance, because it's part of an inherent problem of that breed, because certain breeds suffer from neurology issues or cancer and so on. And I think what drives insurance is the fear of high costs. Costs are increasing, and they have increased a lot over the years in Czech Republic.
Are there some breeds that you won't insure?
No, that is one philosophy and one thing that I've always stuck to from the beginning. We accept all. It doesn't matter what breed they are. It's not their fault. They're a living soul, and we insure all of them.
And is there a certain age beyond which you won't insure a dog?
Very good topic, this, because some other companies, when the dog hits a certain age, they they send you a letter saying, we're not insuring your dog anymore. No, we don't do that. So after we insure dogs up to the age of 10, if they're a smaller breed, but once they're in the insurance, they're insured for life. You will not get from us a letter saying, sorry, we're not going to insure your dog because your dog's too old. That we will not do.
I've seen you say that you deal in emotional insurance, but is it always rational to spend money insuring, for example, a dog, because you know the dog is not staying in your life indefinitely? If it lives till 11 or 14, is it that much difference? You're still going to go through a hellish experience when the dog dies anyway.
You know, when people have a dog, they don't think about their lifespan. Yeah, they don't think about, oh, my dog's going to pass away at the average age. You know, it can be big dogs, short periods, smaller dogs, longer. I have a testimonial of a particular breed, which was an English Bull Terrier, had cancer. They were insured with us. We helped that pet to live another year. And the pet owner sent us a lovely letter saying that last year of that time they spent with their dog, their beloved dog, they cherish. And they thank us for that. So that gives you an example of what it means to people.
Maybe this isn't your area, Derek, but do you know, does dog cloning or pet cloning exist in this country?
Oh, I'm not aware of that at all. No, not at all. I'm not. You know, we are great advocates of responsible breeding. Obviously, against any form of puppy farms. To insure with us, you've got to show the provenance of the dog, where you got it from. We have a breeder program as well, and the breeders can only be part of the program if they're registered with the Czech, one of the 2 Czech kennel clubs which exists. So we are really like that. But dog cloning I've not heard of before.
A few years ago you were bought out by an American company called Trupanion. How much has the market grown since you entered it, and how much do you feel you've contributed to that?
Well, when we entered the market originally, the penetration of the addressable market, because obviously not all dogs are insurable because they're too old or they may have existing problems, was about 0.5%. Yeah, so 0.5% was there. Obviously, that was a drive to see market opportunity. We estimate now that we've penetrated up to about 3.5%. So yes, we've definitely in that 7-year period, and it's been driven by us. So as the market leader, industry leader, we've become that. We weren't when we started. It was another insurance company. And yeah, the growth, and we continue to grow double-digit every year. With Trupanion, they are the number 1 pet insurer in the United States and North America, including Canada. And when they came along, they contacted us directly. They'd seen what we were doing, which was a very similar model to them. They only do pet insurance like us. They wanted to springboard into Europe. They didn't know much about the Czech market or Czech Republic as a whole. We helped to educate them around that. They identified, a nice company that was doing well and was growing. And yeah, we shared, myself and the founder of Trupanion shared a lot of the same views. He started his company 25 years ago. And, we talked about how we both started. And it was very similar. We had very similar stories. And we just seen a real sort of togetherness, and that has helped us to further using their expertise to further grow into this market and into other markets outside Czech Republic.
Is there any difference between having a dog here and in the UK or Ireland, do you think?
No, I think there's no difference at all. The veterinarians are becoming more and more advanced as they are in UK and Ireland. Yeah, there is a cost difference still. UK and Ireland, the cost of veterinary care is still very high, which paradoxically does drive insurance because, the value proposition there is stronger. Here, the veterinary care, after that short blip of inflation we had, did push up pricing. But we encourage that because for the fantastic work that veterinarians do in Czech Republic, we believe that they should be charging more, because they offer a service, they do a great service, and that, they deserve that to be done, because I've seen how hard veterinarians work. People don't really see that, and I've seen it, and I've really come to respect the veterinarians more and more about that service they provide for our pets.
We have a fantastic vet's office near our place, and we love them, and they've really helped our dog. Another question I had though for you was, have you noticed that Czechs will often give their dogs human names?
Yes. That is true. Even my own dog has a human name. My dog is from a shelter, and his name is Pepik. And so that's, a human name, a human Czech name, And, they do that. I mean, we have a great list of all the different names, but they have... And the thing is my dog has a Czech name, but there are dogs with English names as well, Ben and, all sorts of...
Ben is very common.
Yeah, Ben. I can't think of all the names at the top of my head, but they are very human. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Have you also kind of learned dog Czech from having to interact with other owners?
Yeah, actually, I had to learn dog Czech with my dog because my dog was, when I got him from a shelter, he was 5 years old and he was in Czech household and I can only speak to him in Czech, so he doesn't understand English. I'm trying.
Do you mind me asking, why did you get a shelter dog?
I've always had shelter dogs. I've now run this business 7 years and I want to also as well to be able to contribute to the people who helped me create that business, and that's dogs. And the best dogs to do that, the ones that need homes. My particular dog was in a shelter. He was in foster care for 18 months, and he came from a very disruptive household, and he has issues. And that's the thing. If you take a shelter dog, you don't know the past. But we manage those issues. He's very scared. He's scared of particular things, and I feel that I kind of owe that to him. I love him very dearly, and he really is a member of my family. And sometimes he gets sick too. He was sick now recently. I thought he had quite a serious issue, but again, the veterinarians I was able to call upon were able to see him quickly, and actually, thankfully, it turned out not to be cancer. We had a cancer scare there on his skin, but thankfully not. But the veterinarians were fantastic. But I was going through the same trauma as our clients, the same uncertainty, what's going to happen, waiting for the test, I was also waiting in that waiting room in Prague waiting to see what the results were. So I've lived it and I know it, and that's what helps us drive the business the way it is.
Well, may Pepik have many more healthy years, Derek. Thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, and it's been great to speak to you today.
And many thanks once again to Derek Cummins for speaking to me for this edition of Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International. If you're a first-time listener and enjoyed our chat, why not check out some of the earlier conversations in this series and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. But for now, from me, Ian Willoughby, thank you so much indeed for listening, and talk to you again very soon.